Lovely. Well, welcome again to another Consciousness Explorers explorating time of exploration. And I just want to start off with a question somebody asked me recently. Are consciousness explorers? And I think it's quite a good time to actually explain that and roughly who we are, the group of us, Martina, Mary, who are on the call today, and we also have Jessie and Dave, who are in a different time zone in America, so can't always join us, but they work very hard behind the scenes for us as well. So we see ourselves, having worked together now for over 2 years, I think, with Andrew Bartzis, the galactic historian. Although we very much put forward his teachings, we also like to take the next step. So we just don't want to emanate everything that he has said or emulate everything that he has said, because he has got tons of videos on YouTube under Galactic Historian. We want to take it on our own path, having spent this time together as consciousness explorers. Martina came up with the Nouveau website for us, which I encourage you to go to and have a look at the previous recordings and information and what we've done. But I think a big thing of what we want to put forward is we're not here just to talk and be teachers. Yes, we've learnt a lot, but we actually appreciate there is so much to be learnt from other people too. Everybody could be a consciousness explorer if they made that choice. And our idea is actually using one of Andrew's phrases, which conjures it up very well, is to go to the edges of the unknown and beyond. So we're not about always trying to understand everything, because with great mystery in the Native American tradition, great mystery can never be solved. It is a mystery. So rather than solving everything, and rather than us coming up with answers for everything, which we don't have anyway,
yes,
we like to have fun, expand and explore our own limits of knowingness. So there's stuff that we all feel we know, and we want to go beyond that.
Hold it.
So,
Me? Yeah.
Too much
Because if
responsibility.
you go like that,
Lynn, do you want to? Hi, Lynn.
I'm sorry. I've got
okay.
Yas with me.
Oh, okay. You can pop it on mute if you want. No, that's fine. Hi, welcome you too. So, Lynn, I was saying about being consciousness explorers, rather than us being teachers and having all the answers, which I said we don't. We just like to continually explore and expand and share that with you and get your feedback too. We do it on the basis that we are ever evolving. We are multidimensional. You have to go from that basis. We are conscious beings of choice, and we want to make the unknown a little bit more known. And so we invite you to do that with us. So welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about synchronicities. Everybody must have experienced some synchronicities in their life, I think, whether they were consciously aware of it or not. So we want to have a look at one, where do these synchronicities come from? You know, are you in divine flow when you get them? Is it an interaction with the magnetics of the earth? Is it an interaction with our own current environment? Is it direct manifestation from both the seen world and the unseen world? Is it just our belief system that creates it? So I've got a number of questions related to that, just to throw out there. I myself have had a lot of synchronicities in my life, and I know with myself it's just a question of belief, and how I like to view it is it's the universe putting me on the right track or confirming that I'm on the right path. But other people will have their own sacred points of view on this. So I'd like to open it up and ask, what are your beliefs on synchronicities? Where do you think they're from? Do you think we co-create to form them? Anybody like to come in there?
Oops. Well,
Yes.
I'll jump in then, Laura. I think
Well done, Matty.
everything that you mentioned before then, I think it's all of that and more. You know, I think synchronicities, you can't just say it's this or that or the other. I think there's a whole plethora of different ways in which they come about. To me, synchronicity is the language of the universe. And I think that we all experience synchronicity consistently, but it's just a matter of whether you are in tune with it. And I think some people can over-tune with it and look for synchronicities where they're not there. But for me, synchronicity is a flow, a perfect flow, and it can be positive or negative. It just depends on your own perspective and where you want to be. It depends on how you experience the synchronicities. For me, synchronicity is the language of the universe.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yes. So how have you experienced them in your life, Matty? Give us a few examples. And also, you mentioned that some might not be for your own good or your higher good. So why do you think they occur?
Well, you know, I kind of have to refer to Andrew here, the recent videos with Martina. It really explains it all when you start thinking about the precognitive workforce. And there's sometimes, I mean, I've had the most horrific synchronicities. I won't go into many of them, you know, but sometimes when you're not paying attention, when you're not really focusing on what needs to be done, because, you know, our programs, especially fear, can really get in the way sometimes when we know we have to take a certain path, but we feel afraid. And there are times like that. That's when I experience negative synchronicities. And sometimes they can be extremely negative to shove you in the right direction. But in retrospect and reflection, you can see why it had to happen. There's a language to your life.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Matty. And sometimes I think it depends on the choices that I make. You know, if I choose to go a certain way or a certain path, I think that by that choice, I can actually eliminate some really good synchronicities out of my life, or vice versa. I can go on the path where I have a lot of them lined up like little flags on the road. And I wonder, do we line those up for ourselves? Do we put that out into our future like a future healing? I'm just wondering, I don't know.
So let me come in there quickly. I've I found this book in my bookshelf, which is called Synchronicity, as by Synchronicity, of course. And I looked at it, and it says, what is synchronicity? And there's a little, because it was actually Carl Jung who coined the phrase synchronicity in 1923, 29. So it's quite interesting, and there are amazingly scientific and physical, you know, not physical, what's the word? Physics, yeah? The way they describe synchronicities is quite intriguing what's actually out there. But the one thing, it says, everything divided and different belongs to one and the same world.
Right.
And that's beautiful, isn't it? Because that's pretty much talking about the duality, you know, that we are experiencing within our consciousness here, within our I am presence, and then is now starting to link with the singularity, with the sea of consciousness, where, you know, where we are now starting to bring the multidimensional selves in. And when that starts to link the I am, the finite I am, and the infinite I am, then we're starting to really experience those synchronicities.
Yes.
So physics is now, we're saying in the 20th century already, they're starting to acknowledge consciousness as a science.
Wow.
And that's exactly what we are playing with in this arena. We're playing with exploring consciousness for how long now? And they're now, you know, starting to look at it from a scientific perspective, from a quantum physics perspective. So how does consciousness actually fit into all of that? And synchronicities, of course, are the link for all of that.
Yes. Yes, they're the lap over points, aren't they?
Yes.
Lap over points from the seen to the unseen and back again. Like a reciprocal act with the universe.
Yeah. There was also, I used to say, because Synchronistic, the company, my company is a combination of synchronicity and holistic, because I was always working with the physical body from a holistic perspective with the mind, body, spirit, and all of that. And then the synchronicities. So synchronistic, that's where the name comes from. And I used to look at it, synchronicities as a coincidence, being coincidences.
Yeah. Mm.
And that worked for me in 2008 when I started with that. Now, with the level of our discussions and everything, coincidence is already a limitation for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking now and saying, what if synchronicity is actually an alignment of this vibration, frequency, and harmony that we've been talking about in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Us
Hey, Martina.
aligning to that. Yes.
Yeah, Martina, you see, you were speaking about physics and quantum physics, and it directly relates to what you were just saying. You know, there's the experiment they did with the 3 slots, and they fired the particles through the slots, and they found that they only reacted a certain way when they were being observed.
Yes.
And synchronicity, like you said, they are, sorry, what was the word that you used? Coincidences. There are coincidences until you begin to observe them. Once you observe them, they become synchronicities because of your own pattern recognition. And it's the same thing as the quantum physics.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one of my questions going to put out there. Do synchronicities only exist because we've observed them? Or do they only exist because we're aware of them?
I think they exist both.
I think we do. Yeah, I think so too. I think they're there, but it depends on our level of awareness, you know, how we're tuned in, because we can miss them. We've missed an awful lot of synchronicities in our lives.
I think it's focus, isn't it? Focus, and it's almost like a jigsaw when it's perfect. It's all joined and it works. Like a yin and yang, it completes.
Yes.
And that's how it feels. It feels like you're complete. Everything just flows.
Yes.
And
I'm dying to share something with the group. I haven't really introduced myself or anything, but I really need to. I need to say this because I've had 2 big synchronicities in the last hour and a half.
Go for it. Tell us.
And particularly one about a minute ago. Snap.
How does it get better than that?
I was just about to say that.
Then you're clearly meant to be here, Anna. You're clearly meant to be here.
Because for me, synchronicities, I don't see them as coincidences. I see them as signs that you're on the right path, that you're going the right way, which is exactly what you said, or more or less. And also this afternoon, I was watching a video from somebody who I follow, and she was talking about bees and how bees are like a spirit. The bees, the magic of bees is supposed to be bringing fun into your life. So the theme of the video was about this bee that had come into her window, what it represented, and so bringing fun into your life and the sweetness and recognizing the sweetness in the world and not getting drawn into all the negativity. And it was bees and swans. And then I went onto my Facebook page, like you do, and Facebook, I'm getting really into this thing where Facebook reminds you of what you did a year before or 2 years. And what popped up was this video that I'd done last year, this day last year, of a bee. Of a
Fantastic.
bee flying around a flower. And I just thought, okay, so I need some sweetness in my life. So I'm just about to share that. And then Martina holds up the synchronicity book and I thought, oh, really? So, hello, I'm meant to be here.
Oh,
Be
that's
here.
beautiful.
Be here. Yeah.
Be here. Be here.
I know.
Now, I just want to say to that, because, you know, can you perceive that feeling of blissfulness, of joy, you know?
No, I haven't been. So I think it's a good message that it's something that would be good to look at.
Yeah, well, acknowledge that you've just been it now, okay?
Yes.
So what happens in the next minute, different. just now you've just been blissful and joyful.
Yeah, because it's just like, wow, that's just amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think Laura said it earlier on, Matty, it's that when the mind and the heart and the spirit come together, that element, you know, this is when and I think another thing to say is the more we acknowledge those synchronicities, the more we invite them into our lives.
Yeah. Well, I know from that because I've been had a calling to come into these from the time that they started, but this has been the time that I've been in the park. It's been my walking in the park time. And I didn't actually realize you could do this without Wi-Fi. So that's why I haven't been coming, and I've wanted to. There's the judgment one I wanted to come to, all sorts of things, and particularly to connect with you, Martina, again, because I know all the things that you do are amazing and powerful. And today just felt like, okay, today I'm going to do it.
Well, thank you, and welcome to the group. Thanks for bringing up your contribution, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I think what that's also brought up for me as well is this question of divine flow. So you can feel that, and suddenly, yes, more synchronicities appear and opportunities appear, I find as well, with that feeling that you're in that divine flow. And literally doors do open. And I think I smiled at myself once in a whole list of synchronicities, and I was carrying a lot of heavy books or something and had to go through a series of doors, and every door somebody was holding it for me or went in before me and held it. And I said, thank you, universe. That is, it is literally opening doors for you as well, and greater opportunities. And it's just a question, are we aware of them? Are we acknowledging these as synchronicities and not just coincidences?
Yes. And there's a depth behind that, Laura, as well, you see, because you could conceive that as just a nice positive synchronicity or something deeper. It signifies the doors are open, there's depth to it. It's like, look how many doors are open to you, Exactly. And the B as well. B is not just synchronicity. B represents the Earth Mother. It represents collective consciousness. There's so many deeper layers to these if you are just willing to just consider them without allowing the mundanity of life to just knock them out of your awareness.
So how big a part does belief play in this then?
Massive amount.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Does it? Let's explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's explore the belief as a limitation in that. Just consider that for a moment.
Oh, 100%, Martina. Yeah. There was this big thing where people were looking for 1111, and with numerology and things like that as well. And some people, they're constantly looking because their faith isn't strong enough, or their belief isn't strong enough, and they have to look for these synchronicities in order to feel that they're validated in some way. So it works both ways. Absolutely.
So synchronicities then, there'd be false synchronicities.
Yeah, what are false synchronicities? Okay, I've got a sentence for that. False synchronicities, and this is AB said that in one of his shows, and I thought I need to remember that. It was related to the agencies that we did.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the agency stuff, but it's a little bit, we will be talking about that a little bit on the pre-cog side. But false synchronicities are basically when we always talk about bringing your I am shards, your shards, parts and avatars into your I am self, so that we can become more, multidimensional. And the false synchronicity can be created when we're bringing too many of those I am shards into our I am self, so that the I am shards take over the I am in the vagus nerve, and then create false synchronicities. So that's the mechanics behind it from the agency perspective and the multidimensional integration. And what does that mean? It means when you're constantly trying to integrate, constantly doing on the spiritual path, constantly doing all this curiosity learning and never getting a break, you can start creating false synchronicities. That's how I understood it. I don't know if that brings anything up for you.
So how do you know if something's false? How do you know if a synchronicity is false then?
So how would that feel to you? How would a false synchronicity, and we're going to speak to Matty in a minute because he has a lot of, he was mentioned it before, but Anna, ask yourself the question, what would a false synchronicity feel like?
It would feel off.
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel right.
It's heavy, wouldn't feel light, wouldn't feel blissful.
No.
Joyful.
Yeah.
Unless that's what would lead you off your path.
Yes, or unless you were already on your path and you were on this line of false synchronicities.
Exactly. And you can convince yourself that your synchronicity is positive.
Yes. And that you're on your path and look at all these synchronicities, but they may be actually keeping you away from
pure limitations from the I am self.
Yes. Yeah.
So are they created also by our expectations and the need for validation, continual validation that, you know, we're on the right path?
Are they created? Is that what you said, Laura? By our expectation?
By our expectation, yeah. And our need for validation.
That's an interesting question, because it could also be, you know, a destructive habit pattern creating that. Is there, you know, the level of consciousness exploration we're doing is there is no right or wrong anymore, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So really what is right or wrong? But it's really, I've always, when I looked at synchronicity, I always looked at it from a lightness and from something that is actually aligning for me. If it would be a distractive pattern as such, then yeah, well, it's a false synchronicity, absolutely, yeah.
Are you in neutrality? Are you in neutrality? When a synchronicity happens, does it create joy in you in a way that's pure? Or is it joy that validates a path that you're trying to predict for yourself? You know, if a negative synchronicity happens, is it negative only because it pushes you in a direction that you are resistant to? Synchronicities, if you view them from a point of you know,
neutrality.
Yeah, just experience. If you just experience them, and there are messages there, but our I am presence, our self, we try to constantly look for validation. Because we believe that we're always going in the right direction, but sometimes we don't go in the right direction for whatever reason. And synchronicities are there to guide us back to the path that we need to be on. Positive, negative, neutral.
Yeah.
Does synchronicities not feel like, you know, I know when I was younger, I used to get loads of deja vu moments, and they felt at a gut level. That's all. That's the only way I could know that they were right for me, it was bodily sensation in my gut that it was right for me. And to me, synchronicity is similar in the fact that I feel it's right on a gut level.
Yeah, absolutely. Deja vu is exactly that, you know. What other things, like you can have synchronistic events like in a dream space, in a meditative vision or something. What other examples are there for synchronicities? Definitely that gut feeling again, you know, that connection, you know. Heart.
I know. So I know some, Martina. There are some really pretty ones, and there are some that are shared amongst people as well. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this. So once I got over the numerology kind of thing, when I stopped counting everything and watching numbers some years back, and then just allowed synchronicity to flow, one very pretty thing that began to happen to me and those around me was that hearts would appear. And let's say I was just going about my day and I'd be pondering something, and then I'd have a little aha moment, and then I'd walk across a puddle with a heart in the middle of it. And this was something that comes up still to this day, constantly, little hearts, whenever some things, it's just to do with the inner dialogue for me. But there's those little beautiful personal synchronicities as well. They're some of the most precious.
That's really true, Matt. It's like when you're walking down the street and you're coming towards somebody and they're smiling and you're smiling, and you pass and you don't say anything, but you're there, and those sort of moments, they're fabulous.
Andrea, just go for it. Yeah.
Hi.
Hold on a second. Just 1 second. Let's mute when somebody is talking, okay? So that we don't get any feedback. Go for it.
Right. Now, I just wanted to ask a question because I'm always doing the clearing as we're going along, or allowing the process to happen, or the healing within this, because obviously this will be healing for somebody else. And remember, we talked about it with Andrew, the vagus nerve. So the question is, when the vagus nerve are the headquarters or the powerhouses, we spoke about it. So synchronicities obviously show up when that's in balance or harmony, but also, so synchronicities, when we are not in balance, can show up. So whatever is going on within that, remember we spoke about control or out of control. So sometimes we try to force synchronicities. And if I understood it correctly, so my question was that when the vagus nerve is the governor, so whatever it is currently, in the I am present moment, the technology, what we talked about, so it could be anything, could be a synchronicity, right? Because when we're not trying to control anything, that's when all these things show up, however they may be. But also when we are trying to control something, they still show up. But not necessarily going to be the synchronicity that we're trying to express, because it's false. It's the densities. And I think we were talking about that. So if that's the case, then we go back to that same subject, the same conversation, the same galactical or historical dialogue that really is self-mastery, self-illumination, because we can have synchronicities that not necessarily are pleasant.
Yes.
Yes. As Matthew was saying.
No, what I mean is even another layer to that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's layers upon layers to this, because something that is it not just a confirmation with the synchronicities, but are they also adding to accentuating our thoughts, something we're thinking? Is it adding to that to get us to look deeper at something?
Well, I'd almost say, Sophia, that yes, of course, because they are a result of the vibration, because our thoughts and our feelings are electromagnetic, are the chemical, sort of component of our memories that create the wavelength that we are on. And that is then what's attracting the synchronicities towards us,
Exactly. It's a language. It's a language.
It's a coding. It's a language. Language is coding. Coding is language. So maybe another thing to Andrea is like the level of control. Control is actually an energy that is no longer useful in that type of field of trying to align, with the wavelengths and everything, because it's really it can take us off the path into forced vibration, into forced matches, that type of stuff. That doesn't mean that we don't have to will stuff into our, existence, because, it is obviously through our, the will and the wisdom combined with the natural occurring forces create the magic.
Yeah, it's the co-creation, isn't it?
Yeah.
The co-creation with the earth.
And there's a beautiful example of this, If you, I'm sure many of you here have done ceremonial fire, and the pops and the cracks of the fire, when you start to speak to the fire and you ask questions and the fire starts to pop and crack at the right points, it's that, you could call that synchronicity, but it's more of a language. And so when I looked at that, it was like, like Martina was just saying, what is it that you're putting out? Because you will get a response, and it's up to you how you decipher that response. you know, and you can call that synchronicity. Synchronicity may be a limitation in itself as a word, and it's a language. There's a give and a take, and that can be positive or negative.
Yeah. Do you think we can ask for synchronicities?
Absolutely, and you can ask, and they may not show.
Yes.
Make them
Maybe they did, and I didn't spot it.
Make them a part of your spiritual strategy.
Yes.
When you get up. So, universe, show me some synchronicities today. Make sure your pad ready, and then you write them down.
Sorry, Martin, I didn't finish. So the reason I mentioned this, because many people still, at this present moment, are making, so what are they trying to do? Is it trying to force synchronicities? They're trying to control it. Many people. So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying, is if somebody will see it in the future, yeah, like you said, you know, like we discussed this before, that we ask for synchronicity. It's just, it's unconscious. It's not cognitive, which is what I was trying to get to.
It's beyond cognition.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's beyond that. Yeah.
The alignment is beyond cognition. You know, the fact that you're asking in the morning when you get up and say, come on, universe, that's very cognitive, you know, but you know, that's okay. And then you go into allowing, you know, everything to just align. And then you need to get back and actually, you know, acknowledge it. So, Laura, do you want to bring in the precogs?
I was just going to say that, yes. I was really interested in one, sort of our pre-birth arrangements for synchronicities, how that occurred, and also, you know, how for those who aren't used to Andrew's work, perhaps defining precogs as best we can. But we call them precognitive workforce, and they are other versions of ourselves. They're actually our light bodies that we can use as if they were us. So there are multi-dimensional versions that we connect with. They are us. We talk to them. We can send them out on jobs. We can get them to do stuff for us. And there are precogs that I think we were saying on one of our discussions, Martina, that actually arrange some of these synchronicities for us.
Yes.
So they are your synchronistic helpers, if you wish, you know.
Yeah.
So if you wanna actually, instead of just saying universe send me, you know, actually just start having a conversation with those shards, with those light bodies of yours, you know, which are the precognitive workforce. I'll just call them workforce. You don't need to use precognitive. That's just the phrase that had been coined. Synchronistic helpers, and see what can we create today, you know, together. And literally, that is part of your technology. Okay, so when you say this is not a spiritual blah blah fairy thingy. This is actually you working with the technology that is in your body. That is part of the 20% technology, and that's quite an important thing to look at. 80% is memory, 20% is a technology, and our bodies all have different themes of technology. That's why we are always incarnating in different soul family themes and stuff like that. But the capacity of creating synchronicities is your responsibility almost, if you like that, you know, if you would like to work on that level. So it's not just something a little fairy says, oh, I send you that now. No, this is you creating it. And that's powerful, isn't it?
It is, but it's also a hell of a lot of responsibility, because you have to learn. You have to learn the language of your own workforce. You have to learn, you know, and it takes humility, and it takes mistakes as well. And many of us are not willing to make mistakes, you know.
Do you think it's related to your level of consciousness?
100%.
Yeah.
Always, everything is at the level of your awareness.
Yes.
You're always in the right place. If you're not trying to force it. Yes. Ignorance is bliss until it's not. because you've learned so much and you've gained a level of awareness where you're not going to get away with ignorance anymore, you know?
Yes.
So what does that bring up for you guys? Has anyone got any questions on this workforce?
Yes. I haven't got a clue what they are. Is that light body shards as well? I haven't heard the light body. Sorry, I'm a bit new to all of this.
It's a huge subject.
Yes. So, Laura, do you want to?
No, you go. You go.
Okay. So, just a very brief one on the soul shards parts and avatars.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you Anna, if you think yourself, you've got a physical body.
Yes.
That's got a mind, you got your heart, and you're connected to the spirit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The soul, if you want to call it soul, spirit, soul, body, that type of stuff. Those are the things we're all very familiar with. Now, you know that your soul is, any soul is huge. It would never fit in that one body.
Yeah.
So our soul is spread out in different dimensions, galaxies, universes, timelines. You could have an Anna Dyson, thousands of Anna Dysons, even in this life.
Oh my God.
In the womb, yeah? They won't have the same name, but it would be a part of your soul. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
You could be a flower on a different timeline, yeah? Stuff like that. Now, the new spirituality, the embodied spirituality that we are working towards as mediums, you know, getting our passports as, you know, these consciousness explorers, means that we're not leaving our bodies when we go to all these travels. We are bringing all these shards, parts, and avatars into our bodies.
Okay.
We're going to take our bodies with us. Okay. And that is a huge topic, obviously, because you don't necessarily want to integrate all of them. Some of them need to be healed. Some of them need to be sent back, you know? So we're talking entities, we're talking ghosts, with that whole thing.
Okay.
Just as a big thing, shards, parts, evidence. And some of those shards we call the precognitive workforce.
Right. So it's some of them. Okay.
Some of them. And they are working with us. It's almost like they all have different sort of energetic assignments, you know?
Okay.
And that workforce works with you to create, you know, lots of relationships, love relationships and all that sort of stuff, but also synchronicities.
Okay.
Hey, Martina, can I chime in? Can I chime in for a minute?
Please.
Because the way that I try to understand it in my mind is, if you imagine that we are physical beings on the physical plane, and then there's the unseen worlds. And there are many different dimensions and time streams in the unseen worlds. You've got ghost beings, you've got ancestor beings, you've got all manner of different angelics, off-worlders, all different kinds of beings that have access, and the dream worlds as well. Let's not forget those that are part of this unseen world. So really, we are a much more condensed reality than the vastness of the unseen world. And the unseen world, on all its many different layers, is able to affect the seen world, because this is the graduation timeline. This is where...
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the best way to explain it. So the precognitive workforce isn't just one group of beings. It's a whole different plethora of different beings on different realities, dependent upon your own level of consciousness and awareness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Anna, if you really need to, I transcribed the show Andrew did with the mentors or mentees in December 2018. It was their kind of finale, and there was Andrew described the precognitive workforce. I just opened it right here. It's right here in front of me. But if you go on that show, it was in December 2018. If you find it on YouTube, that's where Andrew described precognitive workforce, hub of interconnectivity, and he really well explains what it is. So if you go there and you yourself transcribe it or write it down, which is what I did, and it actually gets to your consciousness and unconsciousness, it becomes you, and that's how I got it. The way he explained it very, very well. It's like right here in front of me, but I don't want to,
yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah. We don't need to go into more because we want to stay with our synchronicity things, you know. So We've got Andrew on board now too, just in case, you know, Laura.
Oh, brilliant. Hi, Andrew.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? I just finished my session, and I was able to pop in here and see how things are going.
How you doing, buddy?
Thanks
It's a
joining us.
stormy day. We've got 40-mile-an-hour winds, and we're expecting a major storm this afternoon, evening. But right now, it's just that hot weather before the storm hits and wind.
Wow.
So you're outside cooling off.
Yeah, trying to. I didn't want to turn the air conditioning on because it's only like 72 degrees. It's not exactly hot, but it's humid.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's great you could come aboard. We've just we're looking at synchronicities today, Andrew, and we've just brought up the precognitive workforce. I wondered your sort of take on whether you could put synchronicities into a sort of a succinct sentence for especially some of the new people here.
Synchronicity. It all depends on your perspective first, and then your perception behind that perspective. A synchronicity can be anything from a fly landing on your nose and you going to whack it and punch yourself in the face and suddenly realize you're too aggressive for yourself, to it could be an anti-Trump video that makes you laugh so hard you pee your pants. So a synchronicity can be anything. It's really about the moment in which it happens, and then the acknowledgement that the divine is there working with you at some level. Now, synchronicities can be aligned from the fetus in the womb. That fly that lands on your nose and you whack yourself in the face a little too hard, that could be a spiritual contract in which totally changes your life to not be aggressive with yourself. You know, it's a variety of things. So your perspective of the environment, your perception of the actions or situations or circumstance can also influence you, that synchronicities aren't just always happening in the moment. They can be a series of moments that leads to a pattern recognition of many synchronicities operating as an orchestra. When we look back with hindsight, we see the patterns of synchronicities that put us on the path to being who we are. When we engage foresight, we're looking for those foreshadows in our own actions, like when reading a book and the book says, you know, and something's going to happen, but they don't want to tell you what it is. Having foresight is the same thing as having hindsight, except the synchronicity won't revealed in the moment, but you'll have the aha in the moment going, this is a synchronicity that I've got to pay attention to.
So to what end do we co-create synchronicities?
Technically at all layers, but you are never really perceiving all layers, are you?
No.
So your perception and perspective still influences. Now, the unseen layers always trying to line up our best and possible greatest actions for us. That doesn't mean we're going to choose it. We may not be a signature frequency match for our highest good, or our highest good is only equal to our responsibility to our awareness, which is a limiter factor, but is not a limitation.
Exactly, because synchronicities are an interaction between consciousness and matter, and consciousness is choice, as we've learned yesterday.
And then space is space, and space is always moving, and synchronicities can be fixed into a moving space.
Okay, you got to say more to that.
Yes.
I'll go back to the surfer idea I used yesterday. So let's say you're caught in a riptide and being pulled out to the ocean. No matter how hard you swim, you'll never get closer to the ocean. The space of the ocean is moving, and the person a synchronicity can be a fixed spot. No matter how much the riptide is going, that exact space-time location, no matter how much space is moving around it, if you get in its general direction, it will activate that synchronicity.
Good. So willpower and dedication and practice is important for synchronicities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So can you cover false synchronicities for us, or placebo synchronicities?
So false synchronicities and placebo synchronicities are both equal and opposite at the same time. They're both together and separate. So a true false synchronicity is when you're following an external source and don't know it's an external source pretending to be your internal source, and you believe its voice is yours. And it leads you down the primrose path to self-destruction. Now, a placebo synchronicity is when we're in our belief zone, let's say following a political party, and then realizing you're giving a lot of your authority away and you don't really believe what the political party stands for anymore. You are following the placebo, what you believe in, and what you're giving your power away to. So the riptide itself is guiding you, not yourself.
Would that be an example like 1111, people always wanting to see 1111 for confirmation?
That can be both false and placebo. It all depends on what's driving them there. So a better example is astrology is more placebo in general. Like somebody can write a newspaper article for astrology for 1981 and it still applies to people today because they created a general statement in which placebo can attach story to.
Having said that, when you come from a birth perspective, you know, there is a synchronistic element to that, a quality of time that is synchronistically imprinted through the birthing process, correct?
Well, obviously there is, and that's that blueprint in the fetus's womb, in the fetus in the womb. But once we're born and we've gone through the forgetting, we have to work with the building blocks around us. So there might be a synchronicity that says you're supposed to grow this way, but the building blocks aren't there, and you have to use your willpower to make the building blocks a part of it. So instead of using brick, you had to use wood. Instead of using screws, you had to use nails to build that foundation.
Okay, so what you're saying is when people get hung up on astrology and they just blatantly just follow, you know, their star signs and whatever is written about it, they can be very much misled.
50% of astrology is placebo.
Yeah.
But in my view, it's the person doing the reading that is the mystical side, not the system itself. And the vast majority of all reading systems, it's the person, how well they know the teachings and create pattern recognition based off of the vibration of their person and the service that they're creating.
Now, guys, does anyone have a question to that?
I've just got a question for Andrew because I think one of us asked, how would we recognize the difference between false synchronicities and a true divine flow one? And now, how would we recognize the difference between a false one, a placebo one, and one that's in true divine flow?
So if you're stuck in false synchronicities, until you recognize the external source is influencing your internal words, you're never going to know, and you're going to follow your belief and become a martyr and a zealot to that process. Until such a time you have doubt in the voice and allow your natural voice to come through. Now, when we're stuck in placebo synchronicities, that's a little tougher gray area because we want to believe so much. We imprint all of this extra stuff in the story we get attached to. So looking at the attachments of why astrology tells me when to cut my hair, do my nails, this, and this, even though that's not a bad system and there's a lot of value to it, but you can figure that stuff out on your own. You can allow your internal source to speak to you instead of following astrological signs that are mired in dogmas that are centuries old. So being in the moment and recognizing what is an attachment to an outcome. Does astrology create expectation? Absolutely it does. Is astrology a limitation? On one level it is, and another level it isn't. It's a part of the blueprint and fabric we all work with. Astrology has gotten many people out of their dark night of the souls. So it's not a bad system. Once again, it can just be easily misused by the self.
It's where people constantly look for outer validation.
Yeah. And once they're stuck on outer validation, their inner voice has no validation.
Exactly.
So it actually all goes back to the inner work.
Right.
The self-healing, etc., inner work.
Right. So you're
to recognize the differences in the synchronicities.
And the validation it requires is a long-term daily practice, that it gives you that solid foundation to recognize in a moment, hey, I'm attached to this outcome.
And the more you do that self-mastery work and all of that stuff that we're always talking about, obviously, the more you align to that vibrational frequency and harmony that is then creating the synchronicity in alignment with, you know, what is actually required for you to go into the next level of evolution.
Right. And something else about astrology, there are a lot of very positive synchronicities in astrology because people are planning lives around an entire industry of astrologists. And there's very much a fetus in the blueprint womb connecting people to astrology and astrologists, as well as psychics and teachers, etc.
Okay, so how does that link with the synchronicities?
So the fetus in the blueprint as a blueprint is a blueprint to the all potential synchronicities in space-time as an equation and location. And getting the forgotten being to go into remembering they have a blueprint that has access to all synchronicities, will they, out of strategy, choose to align to the synchronicities? And astrology is one of those things that can give them a pretty decent map. Like if you look at a map of, you know, Britain from the 1300s, it looks like Britain, but there's obvious mistakes. The same thing if you look at a map of the world, it looks misshapen, but it still kind of looks right. And that's enough to just get you close enough to the synchronicity in which you can begin activation, inner activations of whatever the contract of awareness is.
Right. Any questions to that, to the guests? Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I had a incident sort of recently where I met a lady in a gym, in a sauna, and we began just a random conversation about spirituality. It was one of those moments. It was very synchronistic for both of us. And when I told her, when she found out what my name was, the initials MW were something that she was told by a gypsy psychic back when she was about 8 or 9 years old, I think she said, very, very young, maybe a little bit older than that. And she'd taken these two letters, M and W, and she had defined her entire life with it. She'd met all sorts of men and gone through all this very difficult life. And then I met her in this place and we exchanged, you know, she came around and we did a couple of healing sessions on her and that. But it was just the way that just those two, you know, I'm not sure it wasn't about me. It was just those initials. It's just a very strange way to have synchronicity in your life and how destructive it can be when you hold to something that somebody's told you for so long.
Yes. How many shows have you heard me tell people tell that exact same metaphor? I had a psychic tell me this. I had a dream when I was this years old, and 30 years later, they're still holding on to it.
But the synchronicities keep being created as well, though, Andrew, don't they? To validate that for the person.
Both false and placebo.
Exactly.
Because she's met many MWs that have led her down the wrong path.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Has anyone got anything else on synchronicity they'd like to ask Andrew or anyone?
I'll chime in again if no one's going to speak.
Yeah, go on.
We've got Andrew here with us.
Make the most of him.
Absolutely. You know, there's some points where I just feel like my life is just all synchronicity, where it just flows. And it doesn't last forever, of course, nothing does. But there are some times when it's just this beautiful flow. And I found that flow kind of stopped as the coronavirus came in. Does that make sense, Andrew?
Yes, it does, because people were locked down and not in their normal equation of evolution. The whole world locked down, meaning they weren't traveling their normal places and spaces. And this comes down to the law of the degrees of separation, 1, 2, and 3 degrees of separation. So I've talked about, you know, everybody within your line of sight and line of hearing you is in your 1 degree of separation. Even on this, we're 1 degree of separation. But if you're driving your car and there's a person inside the car, they can't hear you, but they're in 2 degrees of separation. The person walking on the street that will never see your car and never see you is 3 degrees of separation. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Synchronicities are aligned by the angelic beings, guides, and guardians, and the many fetus in the blueprints, the master blueprint of all potential synchronicities, by how we travel around space and time, seen and unseen. Now, our seen bodies, you know, it's fair to say 75% of the world has had to change their daily actions, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with that? That means 75% of the process that synchronicities would align with aren't there anymore.
Of course, right.
Does that mean we can expect a lot now we're coming out of lockdown here? Will there be a catch up on synchronicities?
There will be a lot of beings that are shorting and longing the metaphor, yes. The long shot to get you to meet somebody, to bump into somebody that you would have never done before, because lockdown has created a whole new equation that you're coming out of lockdown, or you missed something because of lockdown, and how the fuck are we going to get them together now?
It's so interesting you mentioned that. I've just had that conversation with Paul yesterday, because we're doing, you know, he's doing all his work now on Zooms. Usually he would go, obviously, into London on the bus or, you know, meeting people. And he actually said yesterday, he said he finds it very different, because usually he gets his inspiration, he called it that, what he's going to say, you know, in the Zooms and everything, on his way to the workplace.
And that's vital. I have said so many clients,
yeah.
Well, what's wrong with your day? And it's the 1 hour drive to work, the 30-minute drive to work, in which they set who they are before they get to work. And they've got to recreate that in themselves. And many people don't realize that drive into work is what stops you from trying to fall asleep between 1 and 3 o'clock. So many people, I'm working from home now, but I just have to take a nap between 1 and 3, even if it's for 5 minutes, because they didn't have that drive into work, getting ready, seeing themselves in the mirror, eating breakfast, that routine that brought the chemical awareness of being now.
And also the drive home, which helps you process your day.
Same thing.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law's struggling with that, because she doesn't get the half-hour drive home. She goes straight in off her computer, straight onto looking after my grandson and cooking dinner. And the only thing I could think she could do is, when Matthew comes home, is to go out for a drive for half an hour, because she'd put the music on and just process everything in a day.
I tell people to do that. Even if you don't, if you commute, if you're doing a telecommute, drive anyways. Go on a hike, walk, or something.
Yes.
So how does it work for people? Well, I don't need that. I don't feel like I need that.
You haven't used that in a long time. So your synchronicities are aligned to how you work your daily process. You do have a repetitive process in your day.
Right. It's probably when I do my drawings, my doodling or something.
Right.
Yeah. Or you could even, think about it, you could even integrate whilst you're watching TV, right?
Most people can't do it. They don't have the call to stay focused when another source of information is taking them away. That's the whole fake idea that everyone can multitask. No, you can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. I just want to say as well, I work with people, I used to work with people one-to-one, you know, in a counselling situation, and now I do it online. And I do miss the physical contact, because it's much different talking to the screen, which is really what you're doing, to being physically present with somebody and all the physical cues that you pick up unaware, really, in the room. And I think that applies to meetings as well. You know, all these board meetings and different things that people used to physically be present at. And now it's all done online, and it does change the whole energy of it and even the dynamic of it.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
But also, you know, if I found that also when I do now meet people, especially people that I love, the feeling is amplified. You know, it's like the butterflies in the belly kind of feeling. The energy is so strong. There is a beauty to this. I have found value in it.
Oh, absolutely. I find when I talk to my friends on Zoom, I always find when we say goodbye and we part, I actually do have a longing to meet them.
So sometimes I think, I don't know if that was a good idea to talk to them on Zoom today, because it actually brings up that longing that I really want to meet.
Mm-hmm. Then go ahead and meet them.
Well, yeah, we can do that now, but up until now, Andrew, they were pretty strict here on the 5K, you know, those checkpoints all over the place.
They were doing that here too.
Right, yeah.
I think it looks reckless what they're doing in this country at the moment, actually. I think it looks like they don't know what they're doing at all.
That's because they don't know what the sickness really is.
Of course.
No.
They're totally clueless, and everything they're trying to tell you about a cure has nothing to do with making a cure.
Why has it gone dormant, Andrew? Why does it
hasn't gone dormant? They've just stopped reporting on it and stopped blaming in front of you. We know something when in fact they don't. That's why we've got race riots going on, so that they can have an alternate story, so they can figure out what they're going to tell us before the next round comes back.
Right.
Destruction.
Remember,
it's
a 5-week incubation period. So basically about a week ago is when everyone came out. So you go from a week ago, 5 weeks from now. So by June 27th, 28th, 29th, you're going to see similar things to Italy come back around.
Yeah, that's what
people who were sick before are going to get sick again.
Yeah.
So does it not provide immunity if you had it before?
No, not everyone. Not everyone. That's why they're so perplexed about this sickness.
Right.
I think me and my family had it way back, maybe December-ish sort of time. It seems like it came around and it did a full round before anyone was talking about it.
Well, they know for a fact that the first case was in the end of October.
Right.
In Wuhan. Was that in Wuhan?
France.
Wuhan. That's.
Oh, in Wuhan.
And 2 million people a day were flying out of that airport.
Crazy. I was looking online to see where it had a second wave, but I can't seem to get that information.
They're not reporting it.
Okay.
Everything is very heavily suppressed at the moment. Even YouTube. You used to be able to type onto YouTube, if there was anything going on, and you'd be able to see people's private phone footage. But now it's all just news outlets, official news outlets.
And nothing on Zero Hedge. I haven't looked for a while.
There's some stuff there, but even they're experiencing an information blackout. So they can only report on stuff that even has a whisper of information. So, but they also said that the information lockdown was going to get so bad that we're not going to be able to give you more information.
And a lot of people just think it's not real. A lot of people, including some of the guys on Zero Hedge, they just say it's a fraud.
Yeah.
It is fraud, what they're telling us about a sickness, but in reality, they have no idea how to cure this sickness because it's so different than every other immunological scenario they've ever been in. And they don't want the public to know that this sickness is so different that there is no real medical treatment that is effective for in mass people. That's why they tried to say herd immunity will help. That was the biggest lie. It was just to make you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they don't know it's karmic resolving virus.
No, they don't know that. Only the people at the highest of the highest of the highest levels. But still, when you look at it from an immunological standpoint, it does not have any standard immunological ways to understand it. It's such radically different from everything else that's out there.
Does that mean it's going to have longevity, Andrew?
Yes.
Yeah, thought so.
Or they'll have to institute off-world technology that can deal with it directly. And then what does that mean if they have to introduce technology that blows all science out of the water?
So how can we create synchronicities for that to happen?
Fetus in the womb, go back there and say, create that synchronicity, which is in the blueprint, and then begin looking for it in the fabric of our unseen as a fixed space and time, and then locking on that fixed space and time, and then observing it as an unentangled observer and figuring out how you can make direct manifestation through the observation.
Cool. Let's all do that. And then next week. Thank you, Andrew.
You all got that. We'll transcribe that for you.
Brilliant.
And then we'll decode it after we've transcribed.
Brilliant. So I've got a question.
Sure.
Is telepathy, how is telepathy related to synchronicity?
All right, so first thing first, real telepathy is not available to us until self-mastery has reached very advanced stages. Real telepathy means that your emotions create a code that define your thoughts in the 1 million letter celestial alphabet. And right now we're still stuck in our standard 26 letters. And until self-mastery is very aged and learned and self-illuminated, telepathy is a pipe dream, period.
That's interesting, Andrew. That's very interesting. You know, I've been recently pondering, because the way that, you know, that I hear it is it's the same as my thoughts. I get an immense pressure in my head as it's pronounced, and it was the first form of, I don't know, telepathy. It's the only word I have for it that I ever developed, and it feels like I have the training wheels on, and I can't get the training wheels off. It feels like that, you know, like it's a real restriction.
Because you're in clairaudience, you're not in your clairaudience,
Thank you.
So something is broadcasting light to you, but right as that broadcasted of light hits your auric field, it translates or steps down into sound. And you're hearing it in the auditory levels, but your ears aren't actually hearing that sound because your ears can only hear a certain wavelength. But your brain can process other wavelengths as it's creating this pressure upon your aura. Now, the other side of telepathy, you were asking, how does it affect synchronicity? Well, technically, all of your many selves are telepathically linked through your avatar.
Mm-hmm.
But those other selves have reached a point where their forms of self-mastery don't overwhelm and won't damage unaware parts of them through a broadcast. That's how the precognitive workforce works together. Telepathy, as we all know it from a common definition, doesn't function the way meta-science, parascience tells you it does. First off, the wholeness of you is a part of a telepathic broadcast, which includes your precognitive workforce. So in every telepathic thought, the coding is gigantic. That's why we're not ready for it. It would overwhelm us. Or you can go into a simple fear moment that, you know, you might fart when you're talking telepathically and overwhelm who you're attacking, who you're talking to telepathically, and actually hurt them. Collective.
Different layer to farting, guys.
Right. Because you're worried about your body and not worried about the telepathic communication, and you're bringing a body-based energy to beings who don't have bodies.
Technology.
Yes.
But you can use it if you want to.
It's a big responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, there's a lot of people who get, let's just say, picked up by off-worlders and abductions, and they've done telepathic damage to the individuals, even killed greys and stuff that were aggressively attacking them because they were able to activate the incoming telepathic overwhelming frequency from the greys that were trying to put them into paralysis. They overwhelmed it and flooded that gray and a collective of them and killed all of them. That happens quite frequently.
That would be part of their technology, right?
And yours and ours. And ours, yes.
Yes. So has anyone, any of the guests, any questions along those lines?
I've got a question.
Go for it.
I'm trying to remember how this started. It was the thing about how you set up your day by your drive to your meeting and then coming back. What about if you're working from home and you don't have driving and you can't drive? How does that work? How do you then set yourself up for your day and then sort of process what's happened in the day if you're not driving back from somewhere or traveling on transport or whatever?
Did you drive before the lockdown to work?
I can't drive.
Okay, so that wasn't a part of your day.
No.
That means you're not missing anything, but
okay.
If you want to create a separation of your day so you have time for yourself, because that's what the drive represents, a separation from your home bubble of reality to your work bubble where you're adjusting yourself before you get there. A lot of people try to do prayers in that time, listen to podcast, something that puts them in a space of relaxation.
Okay.
So give yourself a morning walk.
Okay.
Or whatever is, a separated space so that when you come out of that space, you're ready to do your work.
Okay, some people sort of wear different clothing or something, don't they? Like, this is my work clothing, or this is my work room, this is my... Because I don't have any boundaries in my house. I don't have any... It's all work to me.
And that's something you got to work on. You got to create those boundaries for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Andrew, you saying about, Matty saying much less synchronicity happening within lockdown, but can that not come through technology? Because obviously we're all using a lot more technology on lockdown, or we were. Can the synchronicities not come through?
They are. They are.
They do.
The perception that there's less synchronicities is just a perception. But in fact, the perspective, it's just not happening through standard actions of 1, 2, and 3 degrees of separation. You driving to and from your work. It's still happening. They just had to figure out another way for it to all work. And that was part of the system of domination and control, is to put you into that hourglass format so that the technology becomes the medium that tries to create the synchronicities. How many people try to log on and they can't for whatever reason? All sorts of other things can block the natural synchronicities through the medium of technology.
Yeah.
I couldn't listen to your last show until I transcribed the one before it, the one with Martina. The first one with Martina. It wouldn't let me watch it until I'd at least started transcribing it, the other one.
And I couldn't get in today. The link wouldn't work for me. I had to do all sorts of different things to get in and really persevere. So yeah, I couldn't get in either.
Yeah, we couldn't get in today either. We had problems. That's weird, isn't it?
Once again, the system defining who's going to have the synchronicity or not.
Can you tell us a little bit about synchronicities in the clouds?
No.
Oh, why not?
You mean you don't want to tell us about synchronicities?
No, I'm just playing around with you.
Okay.
Synchronicities. How many times have you looked up at a cloud and seen a lion or a tiger or a unicorn or whatever, and all of a sudden the clouds part and there's a rainbow? Oh my God. Clouds are water that we are programming with our awe, and oftentimes do mystical and magical things on our whim of control.
Yes, you were saying something about the clouds the other day, and it made me so happy, because we're talking about clouds and the technology of the clouds, actually. And that's quite a nice thing to actually acknowledge, the technology in the cloud. And sometimes
water.
Because of the water, exactly.
So we can co-create with the clouds.
Absolutely, because of our water contents, because, the blood and everything, 70-80%, whatever, we have water. So this is really something where you can actually, this is a good practice where you can play with synchronicities, because you have that connection, play with the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that is third eye projection, Andrew? If I was to look at a cloud and start to, get a vision of a lion.
Majority of that is not third eye projection at all. It is your eyes perceiving and your third eye receiving, creating patterns that is already there, because your third eye is helping your 2 regular eyes see beyond their normal wavelengths of sight.
And so how can the person next to you, they can also, or many people can also see it as a lion.
And then there are other people who can't. It's just a cloud to them.
Yeah.
Hey, Andrew, I have a question. Is synchronicity still experienced in for higher dimensional beings and celestial beings? Do they still have synchronicities?
Yes.
And in a way that surprises them?
They've also learned how to mine synchronicity like gold and silver.
Wow.
There are certain spaces and time, if they hang out there and camp, they will be able to literally mine advanced synchronicities.
It's incredible.
Synchronicities in our
so
dreams.
what advantage, Andrew?
Well, let's say there's a odd place of energy where synchronicities regularly happen, and you send a part of yourself there to camp it for 1,000,000 years. And during that 1,000,000 years, every 3 years, you have a synchronistic event of a new being coming there, and you meet something brand new. And at the end of that 1,000,000 years, you've met 300,000 new people. You've just had 300,000 new people. Or there can be energies that come out that all of a sudden have materialistic value to you.
Right. So what would those synchronistic points be then? Points where things are created?
Not necessarily.
Huh?
Places that are a fixed standing point in space, even though space is always moving.
Okay.
So could you have one synchronicity joined onto the next one, joined onto the next one, and what would that create?
Really advanced synchronicities of alignment at the higher densities and dimensions that create a lower density manifestation. There could be a super high powerful density being that's got his metaphorical fingers in his ears and going, I'm not listening to the lower density, not listening to the lower density. And you have another being that's camping a spot because that high density being travels in and out of those places. And all of a sudden he's forced to see this lower density being and acknowledge it's there.
So it can, one synchronicity point following another can actually create a manifestation.
And
well, yes, because if you space them out, we can create a manifestation from a series of synchronistic points.
Or a series of synchronicities that unfold into an unlimited point of view.
Okay, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Talking about synchronicities, and it's getting me to think now, because I do abstract artwork, and I say it's intuitive abstract artwork because people see the most incredible things in my art, and like somebody bought a painting, and 3 months later they were given a dog, and they could see in the painting, you could see quite clearly, you can see the dog in the painting. Is that something that they've created themselves, or was it already in my painting? Or, and also trees I'm seeing stuff in.
It was already there, and that is you who's going into that deep spiritual artistic space, and you're creating something that you don't know as synchronicities for others.
Yes. Okay.
That is another form of mining synchronicities. Artists do it all the time. Like created a love song in the 1980s and it's still sticking around today.
Okay.
Affecting people. So the artwork you're creating is you're tapping into that higher blueprint, and the inspiration space to draw is that inspiration space because there's no interference between you and the infinite when you're in that zone. But when it gets to others, the infinite equation is in each and every paint stroke, drawing, or whatever it is.
Okay, so is it a good thing to do, or are you interfering?
No, it's a very good thing. You're allowing the universe to work with you and through you without competition.
Yay. That's
so
good then.
Sorry.
And what about the trees? Because I've been seeing things in the trees, and I take photographs, and I'm going to probably be making, well, I've started to make cards out
in Scottsdale, and there's been a lot of confusion.
So the seeing stuff in the trees, that's just like looking at the clouds. Your third eye is allowing you to your two regular eyes to perceive more of the information and data around you. And then you're taking that in, not necessarily as synchronicity, but as inspiration, and which is then feeding you pure personal fuel to drive.
Okay. And I keep seeing, a bit like Matthew was saying, I keep seeing hearts in the trees.
Yes, but that's a regular pattern in the Fibonacci sequence of the infinite encodement. Okay,
you've lost me.
Oh yeah, please expand on that. That's brilliant.
So inside the universe is the Fibonacci sequence, which is a repetition code that all plant and animal life use in their personal growth and DNA and evolution. And it's an equation you can follow, but it's also a form of sacred geometry in which our third eye can peg onto and allow our two regular eyes to take deep inspiration from through data coming back to us.
Okay.
Like when you look at a lotus petal, there's a specific equation that allows it to do that. When you look at a way a butterfly goes through the chrysalis, I'm sorry, a larva goes through it and then becomes a butterfly, there's a certain equation that allows that to happen.
Yes.
Mathematically follow. And there's all sorts of things that show why four-leaf clovers grow the way they do, so on and so forth. That's the Fibonacci sequence.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
And it's the spiral, is it? The Fibonacci sequence?
Spiral, yes. The repeating spiral.
But
So
it's
does that continue downwards?
Equation initially, isn't it? 0, 0, 1.
You say that again?
It's a mathematical equation initially, isn't it?
Well, we perceive it as a mathematical equation, yes. But it's more than an equation. Math just makes it very easy for you to see geometric structures of repetition in the all of nature.
That's how we perceive it at our level.
Right. And there are other ways to perceive the Fibonacci sequence if you're using higher dimensional vision.
Is that something we could?
You already have higher dimensional vision. You just don't realize when you're using it.
If you do DMT, then you see that in everything.
Right, you'll see the Fibonacci sequence everywhere.
Yeah.
So Andrew, you're creating synchronicities for others in our unawareness.
All the time.
Yeah.
We are synchronicity machines.
Is everything a synchronicity, Andrew?
No.
And that's free will?
Free will can be a synchronicity, though.
Sure.
So let's look at the word synchronicity as I looked it up. References to the gears of wheels of time. So because what did Jung think about that when he coined that phrase synchronicity, like patterns that repeat in time?
Well, what's the difference between synchronicity and coincidence?
We said this before. Go on.
Attitude is the only difference between coincidence and synchronicity.
Exactly. It's when you perceive it, the same as quantum mechanics. We were talking about this before. It becomes, once you're paying attention to it, then it becomes a synchronicity, whereas before it was just a coincidence.
Right.
So your conscious and awareness of it makes it a synchronicity.
But there's different levels to conscious awareness of synchronicity. So if you talk to a standard atheist, are synchronicities happening for them? Yes. They're just calling them coincidences.
Exactly. Mm. But what is the connection to the gears of wheels of time?
Well, synchronicities operate in and outside of time. And for a synchronicity to make a manifestation in time, a seen being who is in two-legged or whatever form of physical manifestation has an unseen side that's aligning the frequency, vibration, and harmony around that person to be a match in time for a transferness of the infinite point of view or the unlimited point of view into a finite point of view that has the potential of once again becoming the unlimited point of view in the beingness existence in the moment continuing.
Yeah.
So it's matching the cogs.
In the word, yeah. The synchron.
That's one of those listen to again statements.
Another one.
For me, this is just the obvious stuff. For so long, it's the obvious.
I'm trying hard to keep up with you, Andrew. Honestly, I'm trying hard, but you're in good form at the moment, brother. Honestly, wow.
I'm wondering, Andrew, about synchronicities in your dream time.
Same manifestation to a non-manifestation. So having a synchronicity in dream time or deja vus, it's balancing what your unseen side. Sometimes there are synchronicities that happen to us that don't mean much to us, but are gigantic to the other side.
Okay. So if it doesn't mean much to us and it's gigantic to the other side, is there any way that that might come through then in your dream space when you go into your dream world?
Many different ways it can come out.
Okay.
The nightmares stop because there's a manifestation on the seen side.
I've had interactions with people in dream world, and then I haven't, I've just remembered that dream. And then there'll be a situation later on in life, maybe a year or two later, when all of a sudden I'll have a deja vu and I'll realize I'm with the being that I had the dream about back before. It's extremely powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andrew, going back to what you were saying about the differences between synchronicity and coincidence, if I heard you right, and I may not have done, were you saying that for synchronicity, our precognitive beings line up energies or vibrations and events to make synchronicities happen? And would that, if that is the case, would it then be that people that don't perhaps follow our way of thinking just don't recognize the synchronicity, and that's why they call them coincidences?
Exactly. You've got it spot on in your description. Just because
okay.
you believe in it doesn't make it a synchronicity. They just call it a coincidence.
Yeah.
Because their mind can't explain it in the moment. And many of us are caught in mind states and don't have a heart-based state of existence that allows the other side of the point of view.
Thank you.
So from a multi-dimensional point of view, there actually are no coincidences.
No, it's an unlimited universe. Sometimes there are chaotic moments where another chaotic moment meets and a coincidence happens. Coincident, meaning multiple species in awareness suddenly had an unawareness moment where multiple species are meeting in awareness, meaning the universe did something as a coincident.
Yeah.
And then synchronicities might happen afterwards.
Crickets.
Yeah. Really higher levels. Now, do common coincidences happen here? Yes, they do. But they're more like patterns that aren't full synchronicities or a subpart of a synchronicity. There could be many coincidences that turn into a synchronicity once you're ready to see it as a synchronicity.
Even looking back in hindsight.
Yes, that's mostly in hindsight is where coincidences manifest into synchronicities out of hindsight.
Mm.
And let's break down the word coincidence in its form. It's like co-creating, right? Incident. What's an incident?
Something that happened.
Does it have a negative connotation to it?
No.
Yes, it does. Yeah, an incident is something that's happened. That's something of, I don't know, an incident. It's like an accident kind of word, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But is that just our conditioning and imprinting, especially from the global media?
Perception, perspective still drives our awareness of synchronicity and coincident or incident.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's a coming together.
Mm.
Can be, yes.
What really boggles my mind is how the whole synchronicity thing, how it all flows when so many timelines and different dimensions and things moving into each other, how there is this beautiful flow. It boggles my mind. The mechanics of it, Andrew, must be vast. How much do the other dimensions affect the synchronistic process? Well, I mean, our own other dimensional selves. Sorry, parallel realities, Andrew. Sorry.
A lot. So here's the word coincident, and this is the definition, occurring together in space or time. An increasing specialization of discourse coincident with the progress of industrial revolution. And then here are some of the thesaurus concepts: concurrent, coinciding, simultaneous, and contemporaneous. So there can be subparts of it, a synchronicity that are a coincidence that could be contemporaneous, meaning a flow of time itself is a coincidence which when perceived, that flow of time is a synchronicity itself.
Through the observer.
Not always. Sometimes it's only seen through the past. Like the 60s were a series of coincidences that created a series of synchronicities based off of the base awakening of the flower children, who were what? Rebelling against a very aggressive society of domination and control then.
Right.
That was
So,
the contemporaneous moment. And
so
sometimes,
not does it happen on the micro level, it happens on the macro level.
yeah, but not always at the same scale. Sometimes the micro level can be extremely changing, but on the macro level, it has virtually no impact. Or the macro level can change a lot, but the micro level has virtually no change or some change.
There must be synchronicities on the macro level that we can all see, or those in awareness can see.
George Floyd getting his neck crushed by a police officer and 7 people recording it is a synchronicity, and as a series of synchronicities that made it go viral to affect a lot of people, which have a lot of spiritual contracts activated behind it.
That's a really cool example for synchronicity on a more elevated level.
Yeah.
So there are no accidents. Nothing ever happens for no reason.
Well, as I just said, sometimes there are, but that's at the really high level when you have very low density frequency beings and civilizations that are on a path that suddenly coincides with another thing's path.
So that in George Floyd's that filming was planned synchronicities for a greater awakening for people.
Well, there's a series of spiritual contracts that the people who filmed it had to put it online and had to take all the aggression that's going to come at them for putting it online, all the projections. There are many people that film stuff like that and never put it online. So they had to follow through with the blueprint side of, I have to work with what's there so that more synchronicities can come out of it. There's an effort put into those spiritual contracts. They could have never picked up their camera and just walked on, right? But they didn't.
Oh, of course, so many synchronicities are also completing or fulfilling spiritual contracts.
Correct.
And can't.
Yeah, it's a responsibility to your awareness.
And in the world of domination and control that we're in at the moment, is there a choosing of what synchronicities are published? Because here in Ireland, there was a march as well, you know, Black Lives Matter, and there was one guy, he was a black guy, and he got into trouble with police. He had drank a lot, he was a teenager, and he got into a lot of trouble. They were very good with him about it, but he comes from a very good family, and when he got home and when he sobered up, he was actually really sorry that he had done what he had done, and he made a public statement, but it has got absolutely no publicity whatsoever. So is there a choosing of what is being promoted, you know, as in the synchronicities that is being promoted, and is there a reason for that?
So the world, the system of domination and control is trying to limit synchronicities or to put them down on narrative that they can control. There are many videos out there that we will never see because they've been suppressed. But here's an example. Like all over the major cities in the United States, there's videos of piles of bricks being delivered to certain parts of the cities before the riot starts. Not in one city, but dozens and dozens of cities. Yet all those videos are being taken down and they're not being reported by any of the major news agencies. Okay? We know that there's called agent provocateurs, people being paid to go and riot and rob stuff so that they can lessen the movement that's out there. But that's, again, not being reported on, so on and so forth, because the system only wants you to follow its narrative of domination and control.
Yes.
So yes, there are people that are blocking certain advanced synchronicities. There's a spiritual contract to make a video and put it out there, but is it going to get past the system? That will determine the effort in which one puts in to bypass the system.
And yet, if it's something that the system wants out there, there is no effort at all needed. It will just put it out because that's what it's looking for. But I just feel we're being deprived of the other real positive synchronicities that are happening and stories.
Yeah, they want to control the narrative.
Yeah.
So how do you break the heuristic of control? Creativity.
Yeah.
There are plenty of ways to get videos and information and pieces out there, but how do you get millions of people to watch it and share it? That's the internet's under control at that level. So you need no common lay person without advanced computer science knowledge is going to break the YouTube heuristic and get a video up out there and get it going. Yes. You got to be hacking. You really got to know hacking.
So and what does it face then?
That's the next level of marching, that the hackers go with the marchers.
And I suppose too, it just comes to mind about the energy of the lie and the energy of truth, and how fast a lie can travel around the world as opposed to the truth.
That's right.
Mm.
Well, Andrew, you spoke about way back the Three Stooges show, and there are a lot of people who are seeing things from their own perspective, of course, but it does seem that when I saw this movement start, that I thought, like, you really can, it's become quite obvious straight away that there are one type of people who are just out for trouble and another who want to properly protest. And I think it is becoming more obvious to more people that is staged, that part of it is staged. Yeah. It does seem like people are ready to start looking and becoming creative with the way that they protest. You can see the frustration in the people that are protesting peacefully.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Let me finish real quick. But it's about, can they implement it across a dozen cities and thousands of marchers, the new way? And how do they create the new way without the infrastructure of Big Brother listening in to everyone? How do you keep it a secret, pass it on, and then teach others how to do it without people intercepting the information?
It's some special tech.
It's not even special tech. It's walk. You know what the Iraqis did? They gave the message by a voice and told the guy to walk or drive a car there. There's no way to interfere. Or they did pigeons. You can't find a pigeon, okay?
Yes. There's many ways to do it.
Back and forth with messages, okay?
Beautiful.
Well, you said many, many times that there will be no change until people are out on the streets, the same size and scale as the 1960s.
Yep.
But I've also heard you say that won't happen.
Yes, and they have to figure out a new way to march. I've had that addendum to every time they said it. They will have to figure out a brand new way to march because the march has been figured out.
In the 70s, there was a really similar situation in that there were the two sides, if you like, and we then had the underground press, and we had organization through that and through a separate revolutionary system, and we were linked into things like when the Panthers came over from the States. Mm-hmm. And so we had a whole underground working situation that was really possible then, but I can't see how one would do that now, because there's things and people placed everywhere to monitor that. But I suppose now what we've got is a much higher meeting of the minds, meeting of spirituality, and I think there is a lot of strength in that now, whereas it used to be more of a physical thing. But I think we still need the resistance, because without that resistance, we lose.
You're right.
Yeah.
Now, you were just saying you had these newspapers, physical papers, and back then everybody knew everybody. Now nobody knows nobody, and if you're a Facebook friend, you can get into any group, which allows agents to infiltrate any group.
Yeah.
And until information cells are created and they go through a vetting process that uses technology to vet if a person's an agent or not, or a lot of things that are going right now. We know that the white supremacists are pretending to be Antifa people and robbing stores blind.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that was done in the 60s and the 70s. That's like an old tactic. But the modern kids don't know this. They have to be re-educated on some of the really nefarious ways that their own system can be cooperatively taken over.
Yeah.
And they got to figure out new ways. Your phone is listening to everything you do. Everything. You all know that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Your computer is listening to everything you do. The modern marchers are going to have to put down all technology and go into meetings where no one has a cell phone, no one has a computer, no one has nothing, and go back to paper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then use metaphorical pigeons to spread the paper.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Okay, so you're talking about your phone knows what you're doing and your computer knows. What about phones that aren't smartphones? Does that help, or?
That way too. Their microphone gets turned on, and an artificial intelligence is listening to all the keywords that it's looking.
Okay.
It stays listening to you for up to 90 minutes.
Okay. What about another question then? If you're not using words, what about using things like, for instance, artwork or music that doesn't have words? So artwork that's just colors or images or...
Great way to do it. The Freemasons have been doing that in history for thousands of years.
Okay.
Coding the message into artwork. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, there's plenty of ways to encode things and spread it around. And then an actual physical agent on the other side is going to have to go, what does this mean? Okay. It's like deciphering tagger language, inner city tagger language. Okay?
Yeah.
It looks like scribbles, but to those gang members, it means everything.
I'm thinking more about energetically making people aware in some kind of way through music or artwork or whatever.
It's too subtle in a time that people need it in their face.
Okay.
Andrew, how do you think the next few months panning out then?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Crazy, chaotic. No way to predict. What else could happen? I put out my galactic history stuff and the potentialities between now and August, but in all reality, something could happen tomorrow that completely changes all the synchronicities that have been aligned. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
that's one thing.
The system's still not able to predict these events, is it? So since the coronavirus, has it been able to get any form of remnants of prediction back?
Yes, it's got the stock market back. Why is the stock market going up during a time of global crisis? So yes, it has fixed many of its things that allows its synchronicity. So all those people that are in the stock market alignment are making money again. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are many synchronicities that are, let's just replace that word. There are many potentialities that can happen. Can just happen. Will they happen? Well, there's a lot of effort for them to go out of the standard, it's a synchronicity, and what now? What now?
But the system's not able to predict us as much, is it? It's lost a lot of that power of our predicting us.
The ones that are on the journey of self-mastery, self-healing, and self-nurturing, they've lost a lot of that predictive value. But there are plenty of people on the path to self-mastery that have had their life savings gouged out, okay?
Yeah.
Or recovered, or they still have a ways to predict them through other sources. It may not be highly accurate, but it's good enough for government work.
So does it always go back to the best thing that we can do is continue our consciousness exploration and our self-healing?
Well, it always goes back to that until such a time the people are out of the same scale and size of the 1960s and 70s, figured out a new way to march. And then the people that have got the self-mastery have to figure out how to be leaders and not taking a side, but allowing ideologies and positions to evolve, and for us to not be mediators all the time to the anger. All too often, the leaders become mediators to the anger, and they lose the leadership.
Yeah. And then if they don't, they get shot like Martin Luther King.
Very much.
What do you see in potentials for the financial system, Andrew, if I may ask such a question?
Well, it's gonna, that which goes up during the fake times has to go down. Mm-hmm. Right now, the whole point of the stock market going back up is all the big banks who were 600% leveraged had to reduce them to 200% over leverage. And that's what it is. They're getting all the toxic assets off their belts, and all the fake zombie companies that don't actually do anything, that were purposely created as a fake stock market scenario. They had to get those off their books and get other people to own them before it crashes again. And then it'll go back up again. And then the big boys will deleverage again and get another round of bailout through the world governments and Fed balance sheets.
What does that mean for cash?
It's oversold by 700 or 800%, the whole stock market. So it's got to go back down to around 13,000. And the lowest we had in March was 17.8.
Right. I don't really know what that would look like for a layman, you know?
Well, they don't know it either.
No.
Yeah, they don't know it either. Because that means they'd have to acknowledge that, you know, the whole stock market for the last 35 years is a total lie. But they don't want anyone to know that.
Interesting. Crazy times.
Right. Andrew, when you know, this is going on, like, when will this all end? Like, not even end, I don't know, it's a good question to ask, or right question to ask. It's like, you know, it's a lot of energy and frequencies been investing in this period. You know, we're all staying at home doing our work. All this is happening. And when we will see that edge of mystical awareness, if you will, or awakening, or...
It's not going to be a group event. Stop expecting a group event.
No, not even like a group event, but it's like...
It's not going to happen that way. The way you're even trying to think and proceed and cognify, it's not going to happen that way. It's a multidimensional perspective and view of letting go, so that you can have more on another side and invest more on another multidimensional perspective as this world gets more and more and more aggressive, and you learn how to back away from it but still operate in it until such a time there's the bifurcation process.
So we decide ourselves.
You decide yourselves individually, yes. And then like an amoeba separates.
Yeah.
The separation of densities.
How much does the dream world have to play in that, Andrew? Because surely that's the part of this that we're all missing, isn't it?
50%.
Yeah.
And we're the other 50%.
Sorry.
Is the bifurcation process something that is set in time, or is that dependent upon how we evolve and awaken?
So everyone has their own fixed bifurcation point. Mine was when I was 9 years old and had the experience at the baseball game.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
So in this current period now, what people are saying is the best thing for us to do is to work on our own consciousness and our own, you know, our own development. Is there any value in doing what I'm doing, which is the art that I'm doing? Is there any value in this current time to carry on with that? Or
absolutely, the bliss that it creates you and the joy that it creates from your gathering of the inspiration and the creating of it, and now with a little deeper knowledge that it's affecting and changing people that you have spiritual contracts to create this art with. So absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep on trucking.
Thank you.
Combine it with prayer and it takes a whole new level.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I was going to say, Andrea, you already have lovely mystical experiences. A lot, you know, many of us do.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and you know, what I meant is, I didn't, it's like the question, I know what I'm trying to ask Andrew, but it doesn't come out that way. I know, it doesn't matter, but because Andrew mentioned in GH 2.0, if I remember correctly, that if the ascension machine, if the ascension machine is closing, I think what you said, but obviously you know this better than me, that, so if, for example, I think you said, if nothing happens within this period, then the machine will close. And,
no, I didn't say
or
that.
I can't, something like this. I can't remember, but something like, or the time will close or something like that.
No. So what will happen is the machine will continue to grind away at the karmas that are being created until such a time those that are in the perception of non-interference will be told at a universal level, non-interference is still a choice. And that the final process requires input from all sides.
Yes.
And then the machine won't turn off. It will begin to naturally bifurcate the non-choicers out of the existence and put them into the 18th universe. Or the next
that's the one, yes. 18th universe. Sorry, yes.
Yes, where there'll be a council of prime creators overseeing the many perceptions of karmic relations. Because karma is no longer going to be used as a universal law here in this universe.
Will it continue into the 18th?
Yes, they're going to continue to use it over there and allow it to play out over there because it has universal destructive factors to it here.
So really,
sorry, go on. No, it's okay. Please, Laura.
I was just going to say, really, the best way for all of us is to continue this journey of exploring consciousness, which is why Martina set up this group in the first place, to outcreate all the chaos that's happening, isn't it? It's our journey to the stars. It's our journey to be the celestial mediums, and then the celestial mediums of peace.
Yep. Out of conscious choice.
Yes.
Not being affected by it.
Well,
yeah, just creating it.
It will always be affected by it at some layer. It's a matter of what sticks. Like I'm doing my hardest right now to not allow any of the anger to stick into me as charge and polarity on either side. And it's not like I'm defending the racists. It's they also have their karmic resolution, just like the white people and the black people have their own karmic resolution that was culturally imposed onto them by 1,000 years ago of slavery, back to the Roman times of slavery, and before that slavery, and before that slavery. This is still a grand cycle.
So you navigate your own road.
Right. It's not to allow me to store someone else's charge and polarity about that karmic resolution. Or me to create my own about it. I'm upset at Trump, but ultimately every day I got to let it go. If I stay angry at him, I'll pick the side.
So the best thing to do is just see him as an idiot.
But that's still charge and polarity too.
But
it's a judgment. Because in all reality, we needed an idiot in office to get it to this level.
Sure, but he's still an idiot.
Yes, that is a fact. But a fact we have to just not allow be a judgment.
No, but if you see him as the idiot and you're not judging that, you can disregard it to the point of it not affecting the way that you operate your progress.
That's a good way to put it. But after a while, we identify with idiot and we store charge and polarity behind it. Okay?
Because it is a never-ending story at the moment, isn't it? We don't know how these things are going to turn out, or unless you're Andrew.
Let's not call it a never-ending story. Let's just call it chaotic story right now.
Yeah, I mean the bad, what we could see as bad guys. What I'm trying to say is, what we could perceive as the baddies could turn out to be the goodies. Now, I'm not suggesting they are, and I'm just saying that things can change. It's just our perception of something, and we don't know someone's contract. We don't know their karma. The story is continually changing.
Right, here's an example. The main Trumpistan supporters who believe in Q. You guys heard about the QAnon movement?
Yeah.
They believe Trump is the savior of the universe, and that he's taking down the deep state, and the calling in of the National Guard and all that is doing what? It's setting up for mass arrests. The Clintons and the Rothschilds and the baby rapers are all going to get arrested. That's what they believe.
They've been banging that drum for ages.
Right.
Yeah.
The worrying thing is that they've got these vast camps all set up, and have been for quite a few years, ready for this.
They have no one to run them. Well, the Mexicans are going to run the camps. Who's going to do a $9 an hour prison job? No one.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Is there any value in doing the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is something I've been doing?
There's always a value in doing the Ho'oponopono prayer. Always.
Okay.
Great daily practice. It helps build your strength.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it true, Andrew, that even the simplest of a daily practice will make a difference in your life? That's what I found, whatever your sort of practice it is.
Yep, absolutely.
So Andrew, when one sees fruits of the loins, or the fruits of our work, always within us, it comes from within us, and the day we're going to see it or be aware of it is when we're not looking for it, meaning we let go totally everything, total unentangled, total neutral, 0 point, and imbalance.
Yeah, you could pretty much say that, but we can't use absolutes to define what we're trying to say. And that's just something you'll learn from your language. Once you define something as an absolute, you close off much of the unlimited point of view. So just trying to figure a way to take out some of the implements, the intentions of making something an absolute, meaning it's only that way. Like saying total is an absolute.
Oh, you mean the words? Okay, sorry, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it's our subconscious programs that have us use these words that alter our intention.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's why your phrases and words, I've noticed, are chosen very carefully.
Yes.
Over the years that they've been honed, haven't they? Your words and phrases, as we've been, Martina and I and Mary have been looking at recently.
Andrew's impeccable, always impeccable.
Yeah, and it would be great to get more people using that terminology.
Well, we're looking for them to do that. But right now, so many people are just afraid to read. You know, I talked to this person the other day, hasn't read a book in 25 years. 25 years hasn't read a book.
That's crazy. So everything's what, from the television, from the global media?
Right. Oh, they read their Facebook posts and this, but actually hasn't read a book in 25 years. And you know where the trauma came from? Their 8th grade reading teacher insulted them, okay? Or they didn't do their homework and got a bad grade in reading.
It's always the teachers.
Guys, can I just show you something which we talk about synchronicity? Mary, can you see this? This is a beautiful work of Mary. I just want to show it off.
Oh dear. Beautiful.
Yeah. We connected, and synchronicities, as we're talking about synchronicities, and I did help her with something, and she sent me this beautiful painting that
It's really beautiful.
and I will write a poem.
Andrea, I was doing it at the time you made contact. That's why I sent it to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. But it's very beautiful. And I just wanted to say thank you and show it to everyone here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
I think
Thank you, Andrea. How are we all doing there?
Sorry?
Are you exhausted, Andrew? How are we all doing? Has anyone got any questions? Because we're getting on for what?
Yeah, we're 2 hours now.
We're 2 hours.
Yeah, I gotta get going here. I've got a session at 2:30. I gotta go.
Right, okay. Thanks,
we really
Andrew.
appreciate your time and input, Andrew, as ever. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you
so much.
Bye-bye, mate.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good one.
Yaz and I are going now as well. Bye.
Thank you, Andrew. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye, guys. Love you.
Same time next week.
Bye, Matty.
Bye.
And it will be on the Nouveau website, the recording.
Okay, cool. I'm going to stop. So thanks, Laura, for hosting, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Martina.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining,
Martina. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. All right, Martina.
Yeah, all good.
That was good, wasn't it? Pretty good.
Is it just us left? Let me stop.
It's just